When John Dewey read William James's The Principles of Psychology as a young philosopher in the late 1880s, he described the experience as liberating, a door opening onto a new way of thinking about mind, experience, and knowledge. The debt was real, and Dewey acknowledged it throughout his career. James, for his part, recognized Dewey as one of the most powerful philosophical minds in America and welcomed his contribution to the pragmatist tradition. The two men were not rivals. They were allies who happened to be building slightly different structures on what they both called the same foundation. But the difference between their structures was not trivial. James's pragmatism was deeply personal. It began with the individual, with the individual's experience, the individual's needs, the individual's encounters with the world. Truth, for James, was what worked for a person in the process of navigating their experience. The cash value of an idea was the difference it made to someone's concrete experience of the world. When James asked what truth was worth, he was asking what it was worth to the person who held it. What practical difference having this belief rather than some other made to the quality of someone's life? Dewey's pragmatism, which he preferred to call instrumentalism, shifted the emphasis significantly. For Dewey, the primary locus of inquiry was not the individual but the social group. Knowledge was not primarily an individual's tool for navigating personal experience. It was a social achievement, developed through collective problem-solving over time. The methods of science, democratic deliberation, and experimental education were all examples of the same basic process. A community identifying a problem, trying various solutions, evaluating the results, and refining its practices accordingly. Truth was what survived this process of social inquiry, not what satisfied any individual's personal needs. This difference had practical consequences. James's emphasis on individual experience meant that he took religious belief, mystical experience, and personal faith seriously as potential sources of truth. He was genuinely open to the idea that the universe might contain more than science had yet mapped, and that individual reports of non-ordinary experience might be telling us something real. Dewey was more skeptical of private experience as a source of knowledge and more insistent that genuine inquiry require the public, social, and repeatable methods of scientific investigation. James occasionally worried that Dewey's version of pragmatism was drifting toward a kind of collectivism that left insufficient room for individual experience and personal conviction. Dewey worried, though more gently, that James's emphasis on the individual's inner experience risked making pragmatism a cover for religious sentiment and wishful thinking rather than a genuinely rigorous philosophical method. The political implications of the difference were also significant. Dewey became the philosopher of progressive education, democratic community, and social reform. His philosophy pointed outward toward institutions, schools, and collective action. James was more ambivalent about collective projects and more committed to the irreducibly individual character of the most important human experiences. He was a progressive in his politics, anti-imperialist, sympathetic to labor, suspicious of concentrated power, but his philosophy always returned to the single consciousness as its basic unit of value. Both men were trying to do the same thing at the deepest level, to articulate a philosophy that was empirically grounded, practically oriented, and adequate to the full range of human experience, including moral and spiritual experience. Their different emphases reflect different aspects of the pragmatist project, and each captured something the other tended to undervalue. A complete pragmatism probably requires both, the Jamesian insistence on taking individual experience seriously and the Deweyan insistence on embedding individual inquiry within social and institutional contexts. The split between James and Dewey runs through American intellectual life still, in debates about individualism and community, about private faith and public reason, about the role of personal experience in a culture that increasingly demands shared, verifiable evidence. Both sides of this debate have Jamesian and Deweyan roots. Understanding where it started helps clarify what, at bottom, is actually at stake. Subscribe to The Psychology of William James to explore more of his timeless ideas.